um, she, she was infatuated with his love, and she wanted to have illegitimate, illicit relations with him. Now remember, he's a slave at his house. He's serving the family, he's serving his master, he's serving even the mistress. And you can imagine the situation he was in, that his mistress wants him to adopt the wrong behavior. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us that the woman in whose house he was sought to seduce him from his pure self. Okay, so one day she invited him into the room for because he was a slave, called him up there, closed the door, and wanted to for him to behave in illicit manner. But you can imagine his taqwa, you can imagine his strength in faith, and you can imagine the sense of loyalty to his master and as to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that he refused anything of that sort, and he said, Ma'adallahi innahu rabbi ahsana mathwai, that I seek Allah's refuge. He is my Lord who has made my stay excellent. Indeed, innahu la yuflihu dhalimun, indeed the iniquitous, the wrongdoers do not attain falah. So you can imagine that normally it is those people, the males who are attracted to the woman, and they usually initiate something, and if the woman attracts them, they are very willing to do right away any kind of crime, any kind of sin. But imagine his self-control, imagine the taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and imagine his behavior, that in that situation he refuses. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, it was not that he didn't have a desire, it was not that he didn't have the urges, natural urges, because Allah says, وَلَقَدْ حَمَّتْ بِهِ وَهَمَّ بِهَا لَوْلَا أَرَّى بُرْهَانَ رَبِّهِ, that she determinedly advanced towards him, and the Yusuf would have also advanced towards her, had he not considered the clear argument against it from his Lord. So it was that the relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it was the logical thing that, okay, he should not be disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in any circumstances. It was his taqwa, it was that sense of responsibility that kept him, otherwise he had the natural urge as well. And Allah says, كَذَلِكَ لِنَصْرِفَ عَنْهُ السُّوءَ وَالْفَحْشَاءَ إِنَّهُ مِنْ عِبَادِنَا الْمُخْلَصِينَ, that this way we guided him so that we turn away from evil and sexual misconduct from him. Indeed, he was our chosen slave. So now this happened. So to avoid this, he ran to the door so that he can get out, which she had closed. And in that struggle, she tried to catch him from behind. So you can imagine that he was running so fast and she was pulling so hard that his shirt got ripped from back behind, because she tried to pull him. And when he reached the door, the master was there. The master of the house was there as well. And as soon as she saw him, she immediately created a scene that, okay, look, what should be done with the person who intends to do something bad to your wife. accept that he should be put in the prison or he should be punished very severely. So you can imagine, this is what happens. The evil people always, they do that to the good people, that good people are trying to avoid the sin. They are the people who are culprits, but immediately at the spur of the moment when she saw that her crime is going to be exposed, she forgot every principle in the world, and she blamed Yusuf alayhi salam for a crime he never committed. He was actually running away from that crime. So Yusuf alayhi salam tried to explain, and we see this kind of character all the time around in our society, that those people who commit the crime, they are actually the one who make the most noise, and blame those people who have not committed the crime, those people who are trying to stay in obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, those people who are trying to be pure and honest, those people who are crooked, they blame them and make propaganda against them. And that's what happened to Yusuf alayhi salam as well. So Yusuf alayhi salam tried to explain the situation, but who is going to blame him? Because the normal practice is this is the male people who do that kind of thing. And you can imagine, this can be easily justified as well, that she was wife of an officer. She was not an ordinary woman as well. She was attractive. She had her own attractions, and despite that, so it was very easy to believe in her than in Yusuf alayhi salam. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had already made the arrangement that his innocence will be established. So a wise person from the family, he saw the situation and he says, okay, let's see. If the shirt is torn from the behind, then he's right and she's lying. And if he's torn from the front, then she's right and he's lying. And when they saw that his shirt was ripped from behind, they understood what the real situation is. But in that situation, nothing happened. Had it been other way, Yusuf alayhi salam would have been imprisoned or punished severely. But in this situation, Yusuf alayhi salam was told, just ignore this, whatever happened, just assume nothing happened, you just continue doing your duties. And the woman was told that, okay, you seek forgiveness for your sin because it was your mistake. So now, such a thing doesn't remain hidden in the society. So people started talking in the society, and especially the women of Egypt, they started talking, look at this woman. She's so well placed, and she could not even resist her own slave. And she became infatuated with him and tried to entice him and tries to seduce him. When she heard about this talk, she said, okay, I'm going to show them that what was so attractive and which compelled me to do this kind of behavior. So she arranged a feast, a party, and in that party, she put some knives there as well. Sharp knives were made available in the party as well. Now, the Holy Qur'an does not mention at all why the knives were placed there. Some people just assume and make a story that there were some fruits like oranges or apples, some fruits were there. So the women were supposed to cut the fruits, and that's what and that's when she was going to invite Yusuf alayhi salam to serve all of them, wait upon them, and so that she can see that how they behave in that manner. So usually the way a story is told is that when they were cutting the fruits, she asked Yusuf alayhi salam to come in. When he came in, they were so flabbergasted, so much overtaken by his beauty and his hands, his attractiveness, that they did not realize that instead of cutting the fruit, they cut their fingers. But once again, Qur'an doesn't say that. The stories tell that, Qur'an doesn't say that. Now, let's think logically. If you are cutting fruit and you see something amazing, what will be the natural reaction? Tell me, what will be the natural reaction? You'll stop it. You'll immediately stop. You won't be cutting fruit anymore. You'll stop right there because you're just, oh my goodness, what is this? So, some scholars say that was not the case, that they were cutting fruit and inadvertently looking at him, they cut their hands. What they say, that he, because he was a slave, he was called in to wait upon them, serve them, and now each one of them is so attracted, infatuated with him, and they're trying to ask him to have relation with them, and they are trying to seduce him, they are trying to entice him. And in that situation, some of them even threaten him that if he doesn't listen to them, they had commit suicide. And that's how they injured their hands, that okay, look, we are cutting our hands, we are going to, if you don't listen to us, we are going to commit suicide. And that's what Allah says, فَلَمَّا رَأَيْنَاهُ أَكْبَرْنَاهُ. When they saw him, they extolled his grandeur, وَقَطَّعْنَا أَيْدِيَهُنَّ, and cut their hands, and explained, قُلْنَا حَاشَا لِلَّهِ مَا هَذَا بَشَرٌ. For Allah's flawless perfection, this is not a human being. This is none other than a noble angel. So, then she said, فَذَلِكُنَّ الَّذِي لُمْتُنَّنِي فِيهِ. This is the one you were blaming me about. I did seek to seduce him, but he held himself back firmly. If he does not do what I command him, he will definitely be jailed and will certainly be of those who are disgraced. So you imagine two things here. Number one, she has no shame at all. She has no remorse that she did try to do something wrong. She is still justifying herself that she committed a crime, and she is bent upon making it happen. On the other hand, you can see the women behavior. So it tells you what kind of Egyptian society it was. Some people think that perhaps women liberation and feminism and women becoming so sex-oriented and everything is only a current situation in the society which we see in the Western world and which is spreading all over under their influence. But you can imagine that they were very liberated women as well. And they had that kind of attitude as well. So we need to understand that all these kind of things keep happening in the society. Waves keep going up and down and all the way, because there is always patterns in the behavior. Sometimes women are very strong and liberated. Sometimes they are persecuted and put down, and sometimes this happens, sometimes that happens. So human civilizations keep going through various stages all the time. Nothing we see happening now is nothing is new. People, non-Muslims and Muslims have been behaving in those manners in the past as well. So you can still imagine that the powerful people of the society always try to persecute the noble and honest people of the society, and they play all those kind of games in the society. So now is the situation that he has been even threatened that if he doesn't listen to her, he will be jailed. And at that time, Yusuf alayhi salam felt, and you know that he's not proud or arrogant, or he doesn't say, see, I have all these challenges and I can still be strict, and I can still keep myself pure. Rather, he feels that he is vulnerable. If Allah doesn't help him, he may fall into these sinful matters anytime. So he makes dua, Rabbi sijnu ahabbu ilayya mimma yad'unani ilayh. He prayed, my Lord, the prison is preferable to me than to which they invite me. Unless you turn away their snares from me, I may fall for them and become one of the ignorant, one of those people who are not fully conscious about the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and accountability to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so they commit sins. So Allah says, فَاسْتَجَابَ لَهُ رَبُّهُ. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala listened to him, responded to his salah or dua, فَصَرَفَ عَنْهُ كَيْدَهُنْ, and turned his snares away from him. Turned their snares away from him. So it occurred to them that they should imprison him for a while, even after they had seen the signs of his innocence. So at this, he was put in the prison, and we will talk about what happened in the prison and how he came out of the prison and how he became the leader of the high officer himself, a treasurer, you can say, or finance minister became in the society. So this is the story so far. So any questions we can discuss? No questions? Yes, brother. Okay.
So all the attributes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned to the Prophet Yusuf, it is not mentioned about his physical attribute, I would say. Like in the other ayah, ayah number 51, the woman say he is like Malak Kareem.
Yes.
But however, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in ayah 21, he doesn't mention Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala anything about his physical attribute. Is there a reason for that?
See, the Quranic style is that if some fact can be known from the context, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not mention it. Okay? Because if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would start giving all the details everywhere, then you know the Quran will not be concise and precise. And one of the miracles of the prose of the Quran is that at that time when Quran was being revealed, Arabs, the beauty of the kalam, the beauty of the poetry, the beauty of whatever people say was that you say the things in the most concise and precise manner with the fewest words. Fewest words, biggest meaning. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shows perfection in this respect. So because it was going to become evident that she was trying to have sex with him, and the women were so attracted to him, so all the story was going to tell how handsome and how beautiful he was, and people exclaimed that Haza Malakun Kareem. So because all that was going to be evident, So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not mention it. Otherwise it will be repetition. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't do the repetition. Okay. Anything else? So I thought maybe there will be questions about cutting the hands, but I hope everybody understands that part. So there are two theories about that. One is that there was some fruit to cut, but we know that logically, if we observe human behavior, it doesn't happen that way. Because if your attention diverts somewhere, your hands stop. It only when accident happened, and but the other theory is that they intentionally cut their hands to threaten him. And later on, when we will discuss how he came out of prison, and before coming out of prison, he actually told him that, okay, I'm not going to come out until you tell me what was the real story. You know, he didn't want to come out while people were unsure what the matter had happened. And even at that time, he says, what was the story that of the women who cut their hands? And they responded, yeah, he was innocent. It was us who were trying to seduce him. Okay? So you can imagine the whole story coming together. They accepted that if it was just that he appeared and they cut their hands while cutting the fruit, where is the part where they were trying to seduce him? So the real thing was that they were trying to seduce him, and in seducing him, they said, okay, if you don't listen, we are going to commit suicide, and the blood will be on you. So that was one of the tricks of some of the women who did that. Not everybody. So Yusuf alayhi salam wanted to make it clear, so he said that, okay, first tell me what was the matter of the women who cut their hands. And the answer came that, oh, he's innocent. It was we who were trying to seduce him. He didn't attack us or injure us or do anything bad for us. It was us who cut our hands in order to seduce him. So there are indications of this view as well. So I just wanted to clarify that. So inshallah, next week we will go over. There are very important lessons in when he was in the prison, what he was doing there, why he had a credibility that people came to him to ask the explanation of their dreams and etc. So those things we'll talk next week, inshallah.